a long time ago in a radio station far, far above Douglas and Merle Hay Road.
You're listening to FaithWorks Live on May the 4th, Star Wars Day. Thank you, Chris Brass, for that amazing introduction. Which really...
May the 4th be with you?
May the 4th be with you. That's right.
And also with you.
Really puts a tingle up my spine because tonight, even though it's not Star Wars, I'm going to see Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm really super jazzed about it. So very, very, very excited. And I'm doing it in one of my... Yes, that's right, Tara. Best musical score ever. We can take it off now. But one of the things that I love to do is go see movies, and I'm super jazzed about being able to go see the movie tonight because I like comic book movies. It's one of my favorite things to see, and we're going to one of the best theaters I think around. And
Which one is that?
Jordan Creek, Century 20.
Of course.
So just the great sound system. You know, I love that. Comfortable seats, you know, but it's
That's
just...
not exactly the criteria I use. I like Jordan Creek because it's still clean.
Yes,
You
it
set
is.
the bar. You set the bar
to the
too high.
carpeting.
You don't like your feet when they stick on the
No,
floor.
no, I don't like
you know,
that.
just that
I
extra
have a
little...
hard time concentrating on the film when my feet are stuck to the
Yes,
carpet.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, I've been talking about this all week, and I want to encourage you to jump in on what we're doing at Fort Des Moines Church of Christ. We are taking a trip to the Creation Museum, to the Ark Encounter, and we're doing that in July, and you are invited to join us. We have a few slots open for that, and if you want to know more about the trips, $250 per person. It's July 10th through the 13th. It's a Monday through a Thursday. $250 covers travel, lodging, and the parks. It's a pretty good gig.
So you got to bring some spending money along for your food.
Well, yeah, no, it includes food, but
That's a pretty good deal,
It is
Michael.
a good deal. It doesn't include the food at the parks. That's the only thing. The lunch, basically, on both of the days it will be in the parks. But all the other meals we're doing together and all that stuff. So it's a really crazy deal. $250 a person
Very
for that.
nice.
Yes,
Very nice.
it's a really, really cool deal.
Have not been to the Ark Encounter yet.
Oh man, my wife and I were there last July, and it is so cool. It kind of makes the Bible like HD, you know. And I haven't been to Jerusalem or the Holy Land. I want to go to Israel one of these days, but this is the next best thing, you know, being able to go and see what the Ark is. It's currently the largest wooden structure on Earth, which is crazy.
That's pretty cool.
So it's like regained the title. it held it once, and now it's holding it again. So pretty awesome. But if you want to join us, call in or text in to the studio. Our polished producer, Chris Brass, will take down your information, and we'll get you all the details of the trip. That's 515-727-KTIA. 515-727-5842, and you can learn all that you need to know about our trip. So today in the studio with me is my great friend Michael Mudloff, who joins me almost every single Thursday, and except next Thursday you'll be gone.
That is a true statement. I will be out of town picking up the oldest son from college.
Yeah, and
Yep.
we'll miss you. I'm excited about next week's show. Though while you're
What do you have
gone,
planned?
I'm actually having a young gal that's going to come in and tell her story about getting caught up in the occult.
Oh my!
Yeah,
Wow, that's
so
exciting.
It will be. She was a witch. She was, she got all involved in occultic practices, and that's next Thursday's show. So make sure you listen in on that. But also joining us today is Chris Roloff, station manager, and he's going to join in on our discussion because today we're going to talk about something that impacts every single person on planet Earth, unless you happen to be the person. And we're going to talk about high maintenance relationships. And we all, think about this. What makes or break a job are relationships. So the difference between a fantastic job and I hate my job are relationships.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with that completely. We had somebody from the church recently getting a new job, And I encourage that person to go slow in establishing relationships with the coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of lay low, do your job, and see how it goes.
Right.
Before you start socializing and doing all that, because otherwise your coworkers can spoil your job for you and
most definitely
and make it miserable.
And what happens?
Or you them.
And what happens a lot of times too is like when you come into a new environment, maybe say it's a new church, maybe say it's a new neighborhood, maybe it's a new job, and you'll have somebody come up to you that's going to kind of be let me tell you the scene here,
Right?
You know, so and so. Oh, you want to avoid them, and you definitely want to. And the whole time when I'm getting something like that, I'm thinking you're the one I'm kind of wanting to avoid. But that happens. You know,
Yes,
we
it
all
does.
deal with impossible people. So do you. If you're listening, you got people that stress you out. We all have these kinds of relationships in our life. And so there was a study that was done years back. It was a pretty comprehensive study, but the study that was put together by a pioneering group of researchers was what comes up most consistently with people in terms of what makes a person happy. How do I find happiness? The answer is almost always relationships.
Yeah, that's true. One of the things I say about churches, especially when I hear people complaining about the church, or the church is full of hypocrites and I don't want to really, I'm a Christian, but I don't really need the church, that kind of thing. It strikes me that while the church is absolutely full of hypocrites, but we're made up of sinful people.
Mm-hmm.
Churches are, but as much as the conflicts within the church can cause pain for people, the church is also the best place to reconcile relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And and even in a family relationship, the dynamic is you got one centerling getting together with another sinner, and they're creating little sinnerlings, and it's just you've got just a bunch of sinnerlings coming together in a community, in a church, and you're right. It can be a challenge. Well, listen to this. About 40 years ago, the U.S. Navy asked a guy named William Schutz to construct an instrument that would help them assemble compatible submarine crews. Groups of men who could actually just live together in a tin can underneath the ocean for an extended period of time. Now, that's a difficult challenge, but Schutz determined, not surprisingly, that compatible behavior was determined primarily by, quote-unquote, natural fit. In other words, people who get along well with each other do so because there's not a whole lot of effort involved in it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They just kind of naturally get along.
Right.
And it's not hard.
But the interesting thing about that, Michael, is that the person that you get along well with may drive me nuts.
Exactly.
So it's a difficult thing, and we struggle with it in all of our relationships, whether it be in the family, in the church, at work. It takes effort.
What about you? You're listening. You have relationships that take a lot of effort and a lot of energy, and they're just exhausting to you. So what is it about that? Is it the person? I mean, because we typically do that, don't we? We say, oh, that person. Or is it the relationship dynamic and how I'm actually interacting in the relationship that is the problem? What's the problem? The person or the relationship?
Yeah.
What would you say?
That's a good question. Well, what I was thinking about is our initial response is always that it's the person.
Right.
And we begin thinking about what is frustrating us about this person, what is annoying us about this person. We start thinking in through our minds how we want to respond, or if this person says this again, then I'm going to say that, or whatever we're going to do, the action that we're going to take. And the reality, though, is in that process, we're revealing the actual solution, which is me. Mm-hmm. And so I can control the relationship, and it doesn't have to be all negative.
Right.
And so, we might have people who are have their fingers at the dial right now, and they're ready to call in and tell us about this annoying person in their life, and that's fine. We'd be happy to have you do that. Call in at 515-727-KTIA 5842. But at the same time, we also ought to be thinking about, okay, what is the Lord teaching me through this relationship, and how would he have me respond.
That's right. And I think I would genuinely love to hear about your high maintenance relationship if you have one. So do call in or text us because.
Do I need to call?
No, but you can share. You can share.
Is that why you're with us, Chris? 'Cause
Yeah.
You're going to be our test case?
Yes, I'll be the test case. Actually, I was actually talking to Michael earlier today. I got to see Michael Mudloff earlier, and one of the things that is difficult for me is I am a people pleaser, and that is pretty tough sometimes in relationships because my desire to be a people pleaser puts me in situations that I don't want to be in because I just want you to like me. And then the funny thing is I don't like being in them, and so then I start to not like the person that I'm in this relationship with or doing this adventure with or whatever the project is. So is that am I a high maintenance person? Is people pleasing a high maintenance thing, or is that just something we all struggle with?
Well, I'll tell you,
help me.
In terms of that, this is just a life lesson that I've learned because we've all heard you can't please everybody. That's a true statement, I think. But the side that I found that is true as well is that you can make everybody very angry. I experienced that, and I think that I'm like gifted by God to do that in certain circumstances. But so you can't please everybody. You can make everybody mad, all in unison, and that's a challenge. But here's what I know: trying to please people is an exhausting way to live.
Amen.
It
I
is.
can attest to that. I can attest to that, and that's why I don't like it. But
It's exhausting on a number of levels. It's exhausting for us emotionally, but it's also exhausting because we make far too many commitments than we can keep.
Right.
When we're busy trying to please everybody.
yeah.
And it's a boundaries issue. And it's something that I think at some level all people struggle with it. But certainly, as you've talked about, Chris, some people really struggle with it and have a hard time and need some help to get out of that cycle of overcommitting and
Sure.
or even just leading people on unintentionally.
Right.
So you have people in your life that they maybe at certain times they'll give you the cold shoulder. There's people in your life that spread rumors. There's people in your life that just seethe with jealousy. People that that play the victim all the time. They trample on your feelings. There are people that, if you were to label it, you would say that is such a high maintenance person, and I this relationship is driving me crazy. That's what we're talking about today, and I want to hear from you. What about your high maintenance relationship? Are you that person? 515-727-5842.
From Altoona to Hoth, you're listening to FaithWorks Live. Give us a call at 515-727-KTIA.
I'm Michael Damastis. I'm your host for FaithWorks Live, and I am so glad that you are joining us today for our discussion on high maintenance relationships, i.e., all things Chris Roloff. So, I really want to continue.
So you ought to be praying for me, Michael.
Yeah, exactly. No, Chris is not high maintenance. He's just lovable. Everybody loves Chris Roloff. So I want to do this. I want to do a test on the air. The high maintenance self test. By the way,
let's do it.
Some of the stuff that we're talking about today, not all of it, but a lot of it, was coming from a book called High Maintenance Relationships. Wow, by Les Parrott. And Les and Leslie Parrott do all things marriage and all that kind of stuff and parenting even. But
that is the Les Parrott of Les and Leslie Parrott.
It is.
It is.
I thought I saw that book and I was curious if that was the same one.
This book, by the way, is a little bit older of a book, and it's kind of hard to find, but it is fantastic, and I would encourage you to get it. I got this early on in ministry, and it's been so helpful.
He is not married to himself.
Right.
So
his wife's name is Leslie.
Yes,
That's correct.
Well, listen, here's a test, okay? We're going to go through this. I'm going to share a question. Michael share a question. We'll just kind of do back and forth for you to determine. As you listen to these questions, I want you to determine whether or not you are in a high-maintenance relationship, okay? This will help you. This little
Okay, but
quiz.
there's one thing about this, though, Michael.
What's that?
You and I are surrounded by people that we're in relationship with.
Yes.
And we didn't pick them. I mean, the Lord just sent them to our church.
And
so
kind of that's the way it goes in life, isn't it?
Well, yes.
We're all in
Yes.
that same boat.
Yes.
Whether it's in our job, unless it's maybe your mate, then you're kind of guilty because you chose that.
Did you hear the way he laughed at that?
I did.
Yeah, I'm thinking about other people.
Oh,
Right.
okay. Other people
Obviously.
and their mates.
Yes,
Right, right.
obviously. Well, here's question number 1. Do you feel especially anxious when a particular person has called and left a message for you to return the call?
Oh boy, yeah, I'd have to say there's a few of those. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That's why I try not to call him Michael too much. I don't.
How
call
many
my
times have
pastor.
you called me today, Chris?
Just 3 times. Just 3.
Have I called you back yet?
No. Well, wait a minute. That might be a clue, huh?
No.
All right, Michael. Have you recently been dealing with a relationship that drains you of enthusiasm and energy?
Oh man. Oh man.
Are you sure this isn't pastor questions for pastors? I mean, real people go
Mike,
through this too.
I'm a
I thought it
pastor.
was just me and you.
Okay, how about this one? Do you sometimes dread having to see or talk to a particular person at work or in a social situation?
So, like, you and I are showing up at one of these banquets that
Yes.
we're invited to.
Yes.
And you see somebody and you kind of do a 45-degree and you
Oh, man.
over to the other end of the
Yes.
room.
I
Let me
honestly,
find a seat here quick.
Okay, I got to confess some stuff real quick on
Okay.
that. I have been in stores and turned in other aisles and quickly walked down an aisle to get as far away from when I saw the person that I'm like, please don't let me have a conversation.
Yeah.
That's happened to me.
Michael, do you sometimes dread, or is that the one we just did?
I just did that one.
Sorry
Yep.
about that. Do you have a relationship in which you give more than you get in return?
Oh man. Wow. Are you listening out there? Have you figured whether you're not in a high maintenance relationship or not?
Okay, so let me give you the pastoral follow-up to this. You're counseling a couple. They're contemplating divorce. They're really struggling. You're working with them, of course, and you've already told us several weeks ago. You know, by the time you and I find out about the situation, it's almost a hopeless case.
Pretty
right?
much. Yep.
Okay, when you realize that you are putting more effort into saving this marriage than either one in the couple, yes, yes, that's a frustrating situation.
Yes. Okay, how about this? Do you find yourself second guessing your own performance as a result of an interaction with this person?
Well, see, but I do that all the time, though, because I'm a people pleaser. Like every time I have an
You
interaction,
probably shouldn't have answered right there.
I shouldn't have. Wait, did it just happen again?
It just happened.
I do that all the time. I could tell. Sean Miller, if you're listening, I have words for you. No, I got picked on a lot. See, I'm that way though because I'm a people pleaser.
Yeah, it makes sense.
All right.
Absolutely makes sense. All right, do you become more self-critical in the presence of this person?
Wow.
That's a follow-up to that last one, and that's
Absolutely.
that's scratching where it itches.
Okay, here's another question. Again, as you listen to these questions, you can ask yourself, is that me? Am I in a high maintenance relationship? Okay, here's the question. Is your creativity blocked or is your clarity of mind hampered somewhat by the lingering discomfort of having to deal with a difficult person?
Yeah.
Do that one again. Ask that question again. My brain wandered.
Is your creativity blocked or is your clarity of mind hampered somewhat by the lingering discomfort of having to deal with a difficult person?
Yeah. In other words, do you not want to go into work today because of this particular
Exactly.
person? Yeah. Yeah. Tough things. Okay. Do you try to calm yourself after being with this person by eating more, biting your nails, or engaging in some other unhealthy habit?
Okay, wait a minute. I just have an issue right now, okay?
You're a nail biter, Michael.
I am a nail biter, and that hurt my feelings. That question really hurt my feelings. And so
Somebody get him a boo-boo Band-Aid.
that's right. I've tried, and I've stopped several times for like about 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it just becomes this overwhelming. It's like, oh, look at that. They're so, I got to
Find yourself
bite
with
it.
your fingers in your mouth.
I don't know. It's a terrible habit, and I'm sharing way too much.
It's intimate.
You
It's
and
just
Roloff.
us.
I'm
It's just us.
starting
Just us.
I'm starting to feel like,
Please
I'm
don't
the
tell
odd guy
anybody.
out because I haven't confessed anything yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just us. No one's listening.
All right.
Me again. Do you ever have imaginary conversations with this person or mental arguments in which you defend yourself or try to explain your side of a conflict.
Wait,
Oh,
when they're
my
not
goodness.
there?
When they're not there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
like
that's
you're,
never
you know, you're
happened.
you're ruminating over the previous conversation, or you're looking forward to this
know.
next interaction you're going to have with this person, and you're psyching yourself up, and you're getting your defenses out there, and you're ready. You're gonna if they say this, I'm gonna. This is
Or you're going, oh, why didn't I say?
Right.
You know, that's what you're doing
Right,
about the
beating
whole
yourself up over it.
conversation. All right,
Absolutely.
how about this? Okay. Have you become more susceptible to colds, stomach problems, or muscle tension since having to deal with this difficult person?
Can't say I've thought of that one before.
Wow.
That would require a little effort to think about that. But that would be serious. Yeah.
If you had yes to all those other questions, you probably would start to get hives at some point. Just the stress.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Well, and I think you've touched on a key thing. These relationships, high maintenance relationships, and we're looking a little bit using as a tool for our conversation today, Les Parrott's book, High Maintenance Relationships. It does stress you out. It does stress, and that begins to affect every part of your life. Absolutely. Do you feel resentful that this person seems to treat other people better than he or she treats you?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, we're asking ourselves the question: am I in a high maintenance relationship? And I hope you've been listening to these questions because if you're answering yes, kind of ticking them off. Oh yeah, done that. Yes, that's me right now.
We'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. How about this? Do you find yourself wondering why this person singles you out for criticism but rarely acknowledges the things you do well?
I think some of those earlier questions are ones that resonate with me a little bit more.
Yeah, I would agree with that, at least so far.
But somebody in the audience is thinking, yeah, that's me. Have you thought about quitting your job as a result of having to interact with this difficult person?
Ooh.
That's a tough one. We talked about that a little earlier.
That's the quiz. I mean, those questions that we just asked you. Are you in a high maintenance relationship? Are you a high maintenance person? We all have them. So I want to know. I want to hear from you on this. 515-727-KTIA.
From Alderaan to Urbandale. Join our conversation. You can text or call us at 515-727-KTIA.
You're listening to FaithWorks Live, and I'm your host, Michael Damastis. True confession. That is the ringtone that my wife has for me. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
If that says anything about our relationship, I don't know.
Today we are talking about high maintenance relationships. That might be an indication, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on?
Oh, Michael Mudloff.
Michael.
He's showing off his best May the 4th gear, and his shirt says, I am your father.
Nice. Wow.
So, in answer to the question, who's your daddy? It's Michael Mudloff.
That was cool. That was revealing the inner nerd. Very literally.
Yeah. I bought it for myself, for my children.
That's good. That's right. That's right. Well, we had a baby shower, I don't know, a couple years ago for one of our families in our church, and he's a big Star Wars guy. Mm-hmm. So we did the whole baby shower in the Star Wars theme, and we got him a shirt because their baby's name was Titus, or is Titus, and we got the father a shirt that says, Titus, I am your father. And it just all in the Star Wars font, looked really cool. So we are talking about high maintenance relationships, and we got a text that came in from one of our listeners.
Yes. Text says, I am so afraid of being the high maintenance person, I tend to avoid friendships.
Wow, that really touched my heart, Michael.
Yeah, it kind of honestly, and I appreciate you sharing. Honestly, if you're listening to us right now, that's tough because I think that you probably speak for more than just yourself. I think there's other people in your boat that that's, hey, I don't want to be that person that is causing problems and stress for other people.
There is some kind of self-awareness there that I do appreciate. Mm-hmm. I have no idea if this person really has the propensity to be a high maintenance relationship person at all, but he or she is concerned about it at some level. The part where it is where it's a struggle for me, though, is that it's moved beyond self-perception to not enabling him or her to actually build solid relationships with people, and that's the sad part, I think, because we want you, if you're still listening in today, to be able to have loving, Christ-centered, godly relationships with people and not let that fear comes from the evil one, keep you from having those kinds of relationships. So it's something that I definitely think ought to be explored. But boy, I sure do appreciate the idea there, the thought that you might be the high-maintenance relationship person among the people that you know. I just don't want you to be paralyzed by that.
You said something, Michael, earlier. People fit together, people's relationships, that people connect, but not every person connects with every person, right? Like I connect with certain people that really drive others batty,
right?
Sometimes I'll have a good friend, and I'm like, how come you never want to hang out with me and Joe? And they're always kind of hesitant to say why, but it's because Joe doesn't connect with this other person or whatever that may be.
That's a great point, Chris, because I'm concerned that the person who texted in maybe had a high-maintenance relationship and felt like they were the one, and they've not realized the fact that the way that God made them is probably very endearing to a bunch of other people.
Exactly.
And so you're
absolutely.
inhibiting the opportunity to develop those relationships by dwelling on the relationship in the past that perhaps didn't go so well. I'm just speculating, but I'm concerned about that.
Well, we've
for
already
our
talked about.
listener.
I mean, I don't know that I'm high maintenance, but I definitely, as a people pleaser, there's definitely people that I don't know that I can please. Like I get this sense of like I'm not going to be able to make this person happy, and now I'm stressed out. And if I focus on that so much, I won't build relationships with a whole category of people. And I've had to push through that and say, you know what?
Sure.
I'm gonna love them. I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna put my anxiety aside. And as long as they don't kick me out, I'm gonna keep trucking. And that can be hard. That takes a lot of courage, but it's worth it in the long run.
I would agree. Now, last segment, we went through a test, whether or not you are in a high maintenance relationship, and I'm sure that as you're listening, some of you were ticking off some of those. Yep, that's definitely where I'm at right now, and because I did, I'm genuinely. And there's a question that we didn't ask, and we're going to go ahead and ask that. Michael's going to read this question because this one kind of hits home, I think, with both of us.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. Have you noticed that you are more irritable or impatient with people you care about because of leftover frustrations from your interaction with this difficult person? I'm ready to confess on that one, Michael. And I don't know how cognizant my family is of this, but I am. Mm-hmm. I know when I get home, if I'm cranky, I feel it, and I know and think about the fact that I have to get past the situations that I dealt with during the day, and put those somewhere else so that I can be the godly, loving father and husband that God has called me to be. And I have a hard time with it sometimes.
This is a true reality in our home, and there's been numerous occasions where I've come home and my wife has called me on the carpet, and she's genuinely said to me, "Don't take out on us what you were feeling earlier today with somebody else."
Yeah.
And that's hard. And I'm just, being completely transparent. Now, my wife, we've been together for 25 years now in our marriage, and she can, even without me even saying something, my wife will say or ask, "Are you grouchy?"
My wife says, "What's wrong?"
Yes. Yes.
I hate that.
I know.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing's wrong.
And that's because she knows, and there is leftover stuff.
Yeah.
And it's still there, and it's kind of hovering around in my heart, it's hovering around in my brain, and she knows that that's kind of where I'm at, and she is aware of the reality that maybe some of that's going to get kind of spewed out at her, or at the family at large, and the tone of the evening may be that it's in jeopardy. I'm going to set a bad tone in the home because of what happened earlier.
Yep.
And that's a hard thing. But that's that question in specific. That one.
And I think it makes my heart ache because I wonder if it impacts my children's view of ministry as a vocation.
Right.
Right. I mean, they know that I'm helping a lot of people. My kids don't know who I've talked to or anything. My wife knows probably a good portion of the things that are going on in difficult things that are going on in ministry life. but I don't want it to impact their view of the church or their view of what it means to be a pastor or to be in vocational ministry, because it's so difficult sometimes for us to extract those relationships that we're working with and the burdens that we're sharing with people, dozens of people
Right.
at any given time,
Right.
that we unintentionally bring home.
Now, I will say this, and I said this yesterday on the air. I do a lot of counseling. I don't like to do it. And that's another confession of a pastor. I don't like to do counseling, and I do it sometimes without even realizing I'm doing it. And you know what? It's evolved, by the way. This is just a side trail, but it has changed. Ministry has changed, because I even do counseling sometimes via text or a Facebook message.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of wild, honestly. You know, that's how counseling has kind of taken a change over time. And, you know, it always used to be either face to face or
Yep.
at least a phone
when
call.
my wife hears my phone go off for an extended period of time, she knows that I'm about to be disengaged from
Right.
whatever
Exactly.
else is going on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So we've been talking about, are you in a high maintenance relationship? And I think, you know, confessionally, all of us are. That's the kind of the unspoken thing here. But we all have these different kinds of relationships. We all have people that we interact with that drive us crazy at times and stress us out, cause us, honestly, just discouragement and discomfort and, you know, frustration, you know, at different times. And I want to talk about different kinds of high maintenance people that Mike and I are going to address these over time. And we're going to do this on Thursdays for a while. We're going to talk about some of these different kinds of high maintenance people that you have interacted with, that I've interacted with, and they're there. And here's some of them, and listen to me or tell me if you can identify with somebody like this in your life. First, the critic.
Yeah.
The
Someone
critic
who
who-
constantly
yep.
complains and is, or even somebody who's giving advice all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some of the people in my life who are constantly giving me advice are the last people I would listen to.
Yes. So how about the martyr?
Sure.
They're forever the victim.
Yeah.
They're forever racked with just self-pity. And this is the person that you don't ask, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Well,
Unless
I'm
you have a
glad
lot
you
of
guys
time.
asked that. You know, it's been a hard day.
Well, Chris, how interesting that you just pipe in right at that moment.
Yeah, it's just it's not related. But you know, earlier when I was no, never mind. Moving on.
There's I'm going to give you one more before we go on our break here. The wet blanket.
Yeah.
Pessimistic, automatically negative.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the person is the drain.
Always.
Yeah.
Eeyore,
Absolutely.
right?
Are,
Eeyore.
yes. Are you in a relationship with one of these kinds of people? Call us, text us, 515-727-5842.
From Mitchellville to Naboo, you're listening to Faith Works Live. Join the conversation and give us a call at 515-727-KTIA.
I got Chevy Chase in my head right now. Star Wars. That is so great. I'm Mike Damastis, and this is May the 4th, and may it be with you.
And also with you.
Happy Star Wars Day today. This is Faith Works Live, and we are talking not about Star Wars, but or Chevy Chase. We're talking about high maintenance relationships today.
Star Wars.
So, before you know it, summer will be here, and your air conditioning unit is going to be on high use. Is it ready to make that switch? My friend, Nathan Shanks, the owner of Baldwin Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing, wants to make sure that your air conditioning unit is ready for that switch. So Baldwin Heating and Cooling and Plumbing is running an air conditioner summer maintenance special for $74.99. Now listen up. I need to say this. My wife and I genuinely are going to hire Nathan to do this because we want to make sure the air conditioner is ready. And I'm not sure if it is. But what it is, the summer maintenance special, is a complete checkup of your unit that will guarantee that it's ready for summer. So why don't you, like my wife and I, give Nathan Shanks a call today and get peace of mind knowing that my air conditioner, it's ready for summer. Call him, 515-371-4036 and let him know when you call him that you heard about this on FaithWorks Live. 515-371-4036. So we're talking about high maintenance relationships. And speaking of high maintenance relationships, Jen Green has joined us on Facebook Live, and she has been commenting to us about
Jen.
things with Chris Roloff, and it's just good to see you, Jen. And I don't know why you kind of connect me into this whole topic, but hey, how you
Jen
doing?
just wants Chris to stop singing. That's all.
So we went through three of different kinds of high maintenance relationships. We talked about the critic, the martyr, the wet blanket. Mm-hmm. So why don't you take a few of those?
I will. The steamroller, somebody who's blindly insensitive to others. You know, they don't even know they're doing it. This could be several relatives that I know. The gossip spreads rumors and leaks secrets.
You know, I heard something about a guy, and I'm just kidding.
Okay. And he was a control freak, right? That's what you were going to tell me. Somebody who's unable to let go and let be. Yeah. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I just need to say, Jen, thank you for the compliment. She just called me a jerk. How about this? Are you in a high maintenance relationship with the backstabber? They are irrepressibly two-faced.
Yeah.
Or, I know this next person. Are you in a relationship with a person who is the cold shoulder? They disengage. They avoid eye contact or all contact.
Yep. I hear about this at the church all the time. So-and-so is avoiding me. I went over there and I said hello. They didn't even talk to me. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when I said hi, they just turned away and walked away.
Exactly. Then we have the green-eyed monster, somebody who's seething with envy.
Oof.
That's a tough one. The volcano builds steam and is ready to erupt. I don't think that's what Chris was displaying earlier with his singing.
No. I was just thinking.
was
I was trying to fit
erupting,
him in.
That was jubilance.
Yes, it was.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Joyful noise.
All right. Then we have the sponge, someone who constantly is in need but gives nothing back.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That's, that's a big one.
There you go.
All right.
This is a book written for pastors. How about the competitor who keeps track of every single thing that you have done or that they have done for you? There's a record. I did this. Remember? Do you remember when I did? And so that's difficult.
Yep.
Or
Yep.
what about the workhorse? They're always pushing. They're never satisfied. They're just always on. Or maybe you are in a relationship with the flirt. They are always giving innuendos, and they're always kind of right there on that edgy border of, is that harassment? Is that kind of, what is this, you know?
Yeah.
And finally, what about the chameleon? They're eager to please, and they always are avoiding conflict.
Wait a minute. Why did you end with that one?
Because that's the last one on the list.
Oh. Now, carry on.
Well, there's 15 of those, Michael,
Yes.
and over the next many weeks and a couple of months, probably we're gonna take some time in each program on Thursdays to talk about these. But I imagine that some of our listeners today can identify. They have friends, family who fit these descriptions, and I think the thing that we were talking about earlier, though, that applies when we're looking at these kinds of high maintenance relationships we're in is to look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, why is this person setting me off? What about them that bugs me might actually be reflective of my own self?
Exactly,
Yeah?
because it's not, like we said earlier, it's not necessarily the person, it's the relationship and how I'm interacting in this relationship. And I think a good tie-in with this is the whole boundaries discussion. And,
Absolutely.
that who wrote that book? Henry Cloud. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name. Mm-hmm. Well, I have a couple of different, just pastorally, these are just kind of folks that I'm not going to name any names, but I need you to hear just pastorally. These are some high maintenance situations that I found myself in. And I remember when I first came to the fort early on, I started getting notes. Sometimes it was a card, sometimes it was a full length letter, sometimes it was just a face-to-face, telling me all of the grammatical mistakes I made in my sermon.
Wow.
And the
Very
individual
helpful. Very
individual
helpful.
even bought me a book on grammar. because apparently
Is this person still at the church?
they found out that they felt that I needed some grammar work and help. And I remember, no joke, one particular Easter where I just felt like we had a great service, we had a great Sunday. It was a wonderful experience together as a community. And not to pat myself on the back, but I felt like I hit a home run that Sunday, man. I just knocked it out of the park. And that next week, my interaction with this individual, this person came to me and said, to my face, I just need you to know that was the worst Easter sermon I have ever heard in my entire life.
Wow. That's the wet blanket if I've ever heard it, right there.
I didn't even know how to respond to that. I'm like, and I even said that, I don't know what to say to you right now. I don't know.
And we've been talking about it for a week, and we thought it was a great day, one of the best Easters ever.
So that was kind of one interaction I had with over a period of time with an individual that was definitely high maintenance. And I got to the stage, though, where I knew that if this individual was upset with my sermon, I have made it. I have gold. I've done it. I've arrived, because everybody else got something out of it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I was always nervous when the individual would come to me and say, that was such a great message. So another situation, and this is a good description of a high maintenance situation that many of us can find ourselves in. But this individual is mentally handicapped and loves me. And I mean, like, I am next to Jesus for this person, but it is exhausting being around this individual to me, because it's just nonstop questions and nonstop telling me about their life and things that they're interested in. And it's just, it's hard, but Jesus loves this person. Jesus died for this person, but it's just personally exhausting.
Sure.
And it's just one of those situations where that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to end on a particular note for you with this whole discussion, because I mean, we all can sit here and just go on and on and on talking about, oh yeah, I got that difficult person in my life. We all have them. That's the truth.
Bring it around for us. Preach it,
But
Michael.
What does Paul say in Romans? He says, as far as it is possible with me, Mike DeMastis, you need to live in peace with everyone. And now, it doesn't mean that I can do that. Sometimes it's just an impossibility. And I think that as we go through this, we need to recognize there are certain situations that it's just not going to work.
Yeah, and we've had some fun taking these questions, these little test questions, and we've had some fun talking about the personality types that end up or could possibly be high maintenance relationships with us. But the person that can control how we respond to those relationships more than anyone else is me.
That's right.
And that's, I think, the encouragement we're getting from Paul there in Romans 12.
Yeah, Romans 12, verse 18. As far as it's possible with you, you need to live at peace with everyone. And yes, you have, just like I do, you have people in your life that are just a complete drain. They're really hard to deal with. They cause you internal discomfort. Mm-hmm. And Paul is giving us the admonition to remember that we actually might be that person for somebody else. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Exactly.
So we need to do our best in these circumstances and scenarios. I'm so glad that you have taken time out of your day to listen to FaithWorks Live today and join me and Michael Mudloff and Chris Roloff and our producer, Chris Brass. I just want to encourage you in the faith. I want to encourage you in your love for the Lord to do your best to honor people, to consider others better than yourself. I think that's what we need to take away from today. And we'll see you next week, tomorrow.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.